Outside of Felicity, who's now back in third. Intensify and Rupert's Promise. Then comes Elusive Melody, and Zenyatta is closing nicely in the center of the track. Caramel Coffee has the lead, but you better take a look at Zenyatta to run by and do it nicely. Caramel Coffee left in second. Zenyatta.
Hello, it's Bob Pandolfo on Monday, July 28, 2025. Welcome to Morning Maidens and Power Pace with Pandy. And we're going to talk a little bit about 2-year-olds and some of the promising horses that I've been racing, and a little bit about how to handicap these 2-year-old races. So there was a horse started at Saratoga Saturday, Soldier and Diplomat, right? So when this horse showed up, they purchased this horse for $950,000, and a few handicappers I noticed on social media said, "Wow, that's a lot of money for this horse with this pedigree." The horse was by Army Mule, and you think, well, who would pay that much money, for a horse? This is a horse, don't forget, that hasn't raced. Now, what you can do is, you can look at the workouts of these horses. This horse was sold at the sales. Now, let me just find it. You go to OBS sales, and you click on the sales results, and then it says OBS March in the horses, past performances. So you click on the March sale, and then you type in Army Mule over here, which is a sire, and you hit enter, and you'll see all the Army Mules, and then you look at the dam's name. In this case was Diplomatic Miss, and you can see that purchased by St. Elias Dale for $150,000. So you go over here, and there's photos and different information, but you want to click on the view video, and then you see the video of the horse working out, blowing out this fast furlong, which is the reason why they purchased the horse. Now, and this was a particularly good, I have to admit, if I was down there and I had been hired to tell people, what I thought of this workout, I would have said that this was one of the best workouts, that I've seen. This one furlong, I think it was like 9.4 seconds or something, but it wasn't just the speed. This horse galloped out really well, did it real easily, had good conformation, had a long stride. So yeah, this was an impressive 2-year-old in training workout. But I still think you have to be crazy to spend $950,000 for a horse with this pedigree. But the thing is, the people that own this horse, St. Elias Stable, the principal owner is this gentleman, Vinny Viola, who's been he's been in the game a long time. Now, he's a billionaire. Grew up in Brooklyn, and he went into finance, and he made a lot of money. And he bought Army Mule off of a workout, and Army Mule turned out to be a nice colt. It's tough though, because a lot of these horses don't work out. I'll show you here. I think I have Army Mule here somewhere. Let's see if I could find it. Here it is. So he bought Army Mule based on a fast 2-year-old in training, and he spent a lot of money for Army Mule. I can't remember how much, but you can see that the horse won his debut also, just like this horse the other day. But he only raced 3 times. And, he only raced twice as a 3-year-old. He won the Carter. So he was a very good sprinter, but, then something happened. He got hurt or something. So that's it. 3 starts, and boom, he's done. And now he's a sire. So, he likes Army Mule, so he decided, hey, I'm gonna purchase this horse. But like I said, that's a lot of money for a horse with this pedigree. You see this a lot of times. You see people spend a lot of money, and you think that, for a horse that's never raced, that really isn't, regally bred. But if you're a billionaire, you can do that. And that's really, anyone in their right mind who's not a billionaire would not spend $950,000 for this horse. Now, as far as the way the horse raced, he raced okay. He won. He looked pretty good. But he didn't look like a $950,000 horse yet. He's gonna, he has a lot of developing to do. Now there was another horse that they spent a lot of money for it. that debuted this weekend, and this is at Del Mar. This is a horse named Brant. Now this horse they spent $3 million on. Now that's a lot of money. I mean, now you're talking record, a record amount of spending here. You're getting at that point for a 2-year-old in training. Now this is one of Bob Baffert's, prime owners. They have a lot of money. Now this horse, you can understand a little bit more why you'd spend money on him. Now he also had a fantastic 2-year-old in training work. Went like 9-4, looked great. Baffert's team is very good at picking these horses out. They hire someone to help them, analyze the, bloodstock agent usually. They have someone who analyzes the workouts. And to be honest with you, like I've been doing this a long time, I could watch these workouts even on videos without even being there, and I could tell you if a horse is, had a brilliant workout, a 2-year-old in training sale. I mean, I know what to look for. I've been doing this a long time. I don't know if I'm as good at it as these bloodstock agents that they pay, but I mean, these really, really fantastic workouts. If you've been, watched a lot of these, 2-year-old in training sales, or you've watched horses train in the morning, you after a while you get a feel for it, and you could see. The whole thing is that you want the horse to be able to not only run fast, but he has to have good action, a nice stride, long stride preferably, and you watch the way he finishes out when they go around a turn. A lot of horses start to slow down in a turn. They look like they're getting tired, and they only sell sometimes for 50,000. Even if they went fast, they might sell for 50 or 100,000. But when a horse sells for this kind of money, usually that means that he went around that turn really with a lot of energy after his 1 furlong or 2 furlong blowout. Now Brant, again, he has a better pedigree because he's by Gunrunner. Now Gunrunner is a more prestigious sire than Army Mule. But still, this pedigree, I have the pedigree here. Tainan, who's the dam, this is her first foal. She wasn't a terrific racehorse. So, I mean, the pedigree, all right, you do have Gunrunner, but it's not a great pedigree, to spend $3 million on a horse. But my guess is that this horse, if he stays healthy, is going to be a graded stakes winner at the very least. And the thing is, he will stretch out. The other horse by Army Mule, may just be a sprinter. This horse should be able to run long. One of the things I wanted to point out too, I'll tell you, it's difficult. Steve Anderson had an article in Daily Racing Form yesterday, and he points out that Brant got a Beyer speed figure of 101 when he won this race Saturday, and he says he's one of 6 juveniles to record a triple-digit figure in races from 5 to 7 furlongs this decade. Now, he made a mistake. It's actually 5 juveniles because he mentioned a horse here, Hegazi, who didn't win until he was 3 years old. But I looked at these horses that he mentioned. All right, so he said Speedboats Beach got 104 Beyer figure when he won his maiden race. Now that horse raced 8 times in his career, Speedboats Beach, and he won 4. That was another Baffert horse, and he was a Grade 1 winner. Then he mentions Cave Rock. This was another horse, I believe that was a Beyer horse. He raced 4 times. He won 3 times. He won 2 Grade 1s. That was also trained by Beyer. He mentions Prince of Monaco. Prince of Monaco. Let's see, what kind of number? Yeah, Prince of Monaco got a 103, winning his 2-year-old debut at Del Mar for Baffert. He's raced 6 times and won 3, including a Grade 1. And he may never race again. I don't know. He could possibly race again, but right now we don't know. So then he mentions Mooney's Gold, who's the only horse that got these big figures as a 2-year-old in the last, as he said, in this in the last, let's see, this decade. Mooney's Gold was trained by Pletcher. Now she's a mare, and she's raced 9 times with 4 wins, and she hasn't won any graded stakes. So you could see that now. Out of all these horses, too, I don't think any of them are. Hegazi is still racing, but he didn't win as a 2-year-old. But the ones that won as a 2-year-old, Speedboat Beach, Cave Rock, Prince of Monaco, I think they're all done. You know, Prince of Monaco might race again. And Muni's Goal, I think, is done also. So these horses have very short careers. and, you know, so they blew out these fast, you know, debuts. They won their debut very impressively. But then they didn't race that often. The only horse that, the most races out of all these horses was Speedboat Beach, who ran 8 times. Muni's Goal ran 9 times to the mare, the Pletcher mare. But the Baffert horses, Cave Rock 4 starts, Prince of Monaco 6 starts, Speedboat Beach 8 starts. So, you know, it's tough. You spend a lot of money on these horses, and you get, you know, and they come out, you know, got gangbusters. Now, hopefully, Brandt will stay healthy and get into, you know, running the Kentucky Derby next year. That's obviously when you spend $3 million on a horse. That's what you want. Another horse who made his debut at Saratoga on Saturday. Now, this was a Pletcher horse. This is a filly that I think is going to do very well when she stretches out. Tommy Joe. It's funny too because you know, Ortiz Jr. didn't take this horse for Pletcher. He took the Brad Cox horse, who went off as the favorite. No, I mean, he didn't go off as favorite. He went up at 5-1. Immortalized. He took the Brad Cox horse. And you know, and again, I'm assuming this. He usually gets first call on these horses for Pletcher at Saratoga. But he doesn't always take them. In this particular case, he wanted the Brad Cox horse. That's the way it looks anyway. I mean, it's possible that this was something to do with the owners or something. Maybe they wanted Johnny Velasquez, but I kind of doubt it. It looks like he had his choice between Immortalized and Tommy Joe, and he took Immortalized. Turned out Tommy Joe really raced well. She got bumped hard at the start, and she was really professional, just won this race really easily. And she's going to stretch out. This is a really good pedigree. So that's a filly to watch for Pletcher as she goes into probably 2-year-old stakes races eventually going long. Another horse that raced Saturday on this card where Brandt won is a really nice horse that Baffert has. This horse, Nisos. Let's look at it. Let's see if we have Nisos. You can see Nisos was one of these horses that he came out really sharp as a 2-year-old. Then he won a couple stakes races. His only loss was to Mindframe in a Grade 1 stakes race, this year. But now he came back and he won, the Triple Bend, and he won the San Diego Handicap the other day, right here. This is a really nice horse. He's got a lot of class. So he's going to go into the Pacific Classic next. If he can stay healthy, he will be in the Breeders' Cup Classic. The Breeders' Cup Classic, if these horses stay healthy, you could have a fantastic Breeders' Cup Classic this year, because you've got, Mindframe, Sovereignty, this horse, Nisos, a lot of horses. I mean, there's a whole list of really, really good horses. If these horses stay together, now we've been down this road before, where by the time you get to the Breeders' Cup Classic, several of them, don't show up because they're not healthy enough. If they all stay healthy, though, the Breeders' Cup Classic is going to be a monster race this year. And this horse, Nisos, he could be as good as anybody. I mean, he could be right up there with a Sovereignty. I mean, he wins these races really easily. It's just that, Baffert has to try to keep them together. He's a 4-year-old horse who's only raced 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. So, but really a terrific looking horse, really nice mover. So it's just some of the notes I wanted to put out there. But again, if you want to handicap 2-year races and you want to watch the actual videos of the horses, when they work out, you go to OBS. So you just type in OBS sales, and you get to this, over here, and you just click on sales results right there, sales results. And then, if it's the March sale, you click here. If it's the April sale, you click here. And then you just type in the horse's sire, hit enter, and you'll see all the, you'll see the horse's name, and you just look at his dam, and there it is, and then you can watch his video. The 2-year-old is saying, a lot of horses don't train don't sell in these kind of 2-year-old and training sales. They just sell at auction, and then you got to buy them when you haven't even seen them set foot on a racetrack. I would never do that. I mean, if I was a wealthy person who was buying 2-year-olds and wanted to win the Kentucky Derby, I would never buy a horse at the auctions, that haven't set foot on a track. I mean, people spend, $1 million for a horse that they've never even know. They don't even know if he can run. They're just looking at him, standing up. You can get lucky, because the horse has a good conformation and a good pedigree. But at least here, you're getting a chance to see the horses run. It doesn't always work out. A lot of these horses, they blow out a fast furlong, and then they turn out to be, fairly ordinary horses. But like some of these horses I just showed you, these two, the Baffert horse, and the horse that sold for $950,000, owned by Vinny. Both of these horses, they look terrific in there. I mean, it wasn't just that they went fast. Like I said, they galloped out strong. And if I was an agent, I would have told people this is a really good horse. Are they worth the kind of money they spent? $3 million and $950,000? Probably not. But we'll see. This horse that they spent $950,000 on, I really don't think is worth the money. He looked okay in his debut, but he didn't look that great. But Soldier and Diplomat. But we'll see. Hey, look, I wish him all the luck in the world, though. I mean, and Vinny has been a really, this gentleman has been a really good guy for the sport. He puts a lot of money into the sport. You need these people, to keep the sport going. I mean, somebody has to, keep buying horses so that, we have horses to watch and bet on. But anyway, I just wanted to go through a little bit of, maidens and 2-year-old training. Before I go, I want to mention that I am going to come out with a new system and a new book, and this one is going to be called the Speed Shade System, and it's a thoroughbred system. It'll have a computer system and a book, and right now we're creating. I've created the algorithms for the system, and this is going to be a form system, speed and form. So I'm calling it Speed and Shape. And it's going to give you ratings. The system's going to give you ratings to show you what, horses, what kind of form horses are in. It's not just relying on speed figures and pace figures, like relying on how they ran in the race. So it's going to be interesting. I'm going to write a whole book on handicapping using form and applying it in conjunction with speed and pace. So it should be interesting, and we're working on that right now. I'd appreciate if you subscribe to my channel and click like, or anything that could help so people find out about my videos and watch them, which is very important to me. I appreciate that you tuned in, and again, enjoy the racing, and I'll be back with another video soon. Thanks.